That's great. So you've made it through all of our museum questions, all of our questions from the public. So now it's the bit which I feel like is the easy part, but all of our guests have been quite adamant that this is not the easy part. So it's our 7 quick questions, which are just sort of quick fire questions for quick, I guess off the top of your head answers.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully nothing too challenging, but if you find it hard, you're in good company because everybody else has had sort of that same response. So
Okay.
question 1, what's the
Yeah.
one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
I guess I feel like I spent a lot of time as a student not reading around the subjects that I've ended up needing to read around. So if I'd been able to do a wee bit more broad reading as a student on the topics that I now wish I'd done more reading on, that would save me a lot of time now. But equally, I enjoy reading now, so it's a good thing to do in the evenings and weekends to read up on subjects that are new to me. So yeah.
Okay, question 2. What's your favourite film or book about or featuring archaeology or heritage?
I'm gonna have to go with Stonehenge Apocalypse because it's so awful. It's brilliant, and I think
we like those kind of books. Is it?
It's a film.
A
It's
film.
very,
Okay. Sorry.
very loosely associated with anything genuinely archaeological, but it's worth a watch, I would say.
Okay. We can hear from our viewers whether they've also watched that one. What site or find from anywhere in the world do you wish you'd had the chance to excavate? And that can be sort of from modern times or from way back when.
Yeah. Oh, that's a hard one. Too many options, I think. Can I go with like a sort of get out clause and say anything in a remote island location in Scotland, something like that? Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, not a particular site's probably not springing to mind. It would have been really cool to be present at something like, I guess, like one of the big finds of the 1900s or the 1800s, like Sutton Hoo or something like that. But I like the idea of being part of these sort of jobs that thankfully I am sometimes, things like being on Iona and Western Isles and other places where really interesting projects have taken place. Yeah, that's a bit of a vague answer, but yeah. I guess as well, being involved in some of the Royal Commission surveys of those remote places would have been amazing. Just having that opportunity to explore a kind of bounded landscape on an island and map the whole thing. I've always been quite jealous of the idea of doing something like that on St Kilda or, some of the more remote Western Isles. Yeah.
Okay. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I was having ideas about becoming a digger, a dumper driver and a digger driver the other day, mainly because it was raining, and I was like, oh, you can sit inside a cab in a digger. That might be a good thing.
Yeah, they're heated as well, aren't they?
Yeah, radio on, luxury. That was a short, weak moment though, because I think I realised I'd probably get bored quite quickly.
Yeah, too much sitting still.
Yeah. I had harbored an idea to have a year out and become a ski instructor at some point earlier on. I don't know if I'm allowed a year out now, but yeah, that's probably what I would do if I could go and work in France as a ski instructor. And, something like that, something outdoors.
I was going to say it's got to be something outdoors. Is what we've learned from you so far. Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was going to suggest forester, but yeah,
that would be cool as well. I mean, the Mither Tap job that I did, I met some of the guys working for the Forestry Commission, and I think they've got a really interesting job. I just don't know enough about trees, and my gardening is essentially like see if it survives as opposed to being good at any kind of cultivation. But yeah, crofting, my grandparents probably be horrified to hear me say that because they were crofters who moved away from it deliberately to try and get a better quality of life. But yeah, maybe a small holding or crofting if I couldn't become a instructor.
Okay, so what's the strangest question you've been asked by a member of the public or a student on one of your outreach projects?
Well, sometimes you get asked what's the meaning of something, and I think most archaeologists would agree that sometimes we just don't know, so it's a best guess scenario. But often if you leave that question too long with certain people, they tell you what they think the meaning is, and sometimes that that can be kind of quite out there. So yeah, I've definitely had a couple of people visiting or talking to me through Harris fencing about how it's definitely related to things like aliens or crystals or things aligning in the landscape, and yeah, those kind of those discussions can go into really interesting places. So yeah, something along those lines, I think probably.
Okay. Question 6. What is the one common myth about your profession that you'd like to debunk?
No dinosaurs, no gold. I've yet to find gold, so yeah, it's not happening. And I don't know how often people think that is really what we are likely to find, but a lot of the really cool metal detecting finds of the last sort of decade have really put that into people's imaginations, I think. And having to explain that I find sort of darker splodges in the ground, and that's a good day. It's quite hard to pass
It's a little
on.
bit of Indiana Jones's fault again as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I do.
But
yeah, for the record, I do enjoy the Indiana Jones films. I just think Stonehenge Apocalypse hasn't had as much publicity, so yeah.
I was going to say you could put the last of the Indiana Jones films in the bad category, but it's not a bad good film. It's just a bad film.
Yeah, yeah.
We did say in the last one that if anybody nominated that as their favourite, the interview would be cut short at that point. So.
Yeah, no, I would fully agree with that. For sure. Yeah. I forget it exists quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, and then you see it and it just brings all the pain back. Okay, so you're doing well. Our last question and seven quick questions. What is your must-visit archaeological site or museum? Obviously excluding Elgin Museum, which is fabulous.
Okay. Yeah, Elgin would have been top, of course.
Yeah.
But if I have to choose another one, I think museum, probably the Roskilde Museum in Denmark, which is the Viking ship museum. And I've been there quite recently, and I went in winter when they're not doing as much of their craft boat building activities. But I mean, I hope to go back in summer sometime to see all of that in action. But the museum itself is just so impressive. And that museum being so close to the location of the finds of the ships as well. So something, again, although it's a really big museum and sort of well put together, it has that local kind of setting. My local museum where I'm based in the Highlands is the Tarbet Discovery Centre, which is, again, with my interest in the Picts, is a great local museum to have. I definitely recommend a visit there as well. And I think for any favourite site to visit, probably any kind of interesting, impressive hill fort, things like Tapanoth and Mither Tap, you get a great walk and great views unless it's full cloud cover, and lots of stuff to look at on the way. Yeah.
Do you tend to visit archaeological sites in your free time much, or is it a little bit too much, like a busman's holiday?
No, I do. I take holidays to go on digs sometimes, and if I can't get to it through work, then I'll try and get there on a holiday. Although these days, it's got to be a very particular type of site that I would go to dig. But yeah, I visit museums and much more like go out on walks and visit sites whenever I can. Really, it often forms the basis of a holiday. Any kind of trip to the Western Isles or Orkney has to involve some sort of local archaeology, and yeah,
it'd be rude not to in those places, and
absolutely
very difficult not to.
Absolutely, yeah. I have obviously post-COVID, but at some point I want to go to Brittany in France and visit a lot of the sort of early prehistoric monuments there, and eat a lot of French food. So
I spent a lot of childhood in Brittany in the days when you could sit on the stones.
Nice.
So it's a little bit sad now having to stand behind a fence and look at these things from a distance, but yeah, pretty spectacular.
Yeah. So something like that would be like absolutely right up my street for a holiday, for sure.
Well, excellent. You've survived our 7 quick questions, and you didn't complain about them being difficult. So I don't know what everybody else is complaining about.
Well, I don't know if I'd stick to those answers definitely off the top of my head. I might change my mind in a day or two, but yeah, I think they're good answers, hopefully.
Well, it's all about the sort of here and now and just your quick-fire answers. So that's brilliant. So thank you very much again for your time, and I hope you've enjoyed our conversation. And we'll put some links below to some of the things that Cathy's mentioned as well. So they'll be in the little text below the video, so people can explore a little bit more about some of the projects and things. And that's it. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and hello to all my sort of regular volunteers who I haven't seen for a year. So hopefully see you all soon.